Hello, everyone. I just wanted to make a short video this morning. I want to read the first Psalm. Um, I had preached that many times, and I heard other people preach it. And one day I was here at my house, and um, I started reading this, and the Lord got a hold of my mind, I think. So I'll let you be the judge. But you could I could quote this, I think, but and you all could quote behind me. But David, he was uh, a man with a tender heart. He played on the harp. He wrote poetry. Uh, he had that side to him. He probably looked like a pushover to people, little old bitty guy. And but God was his protector, and you didn't fool with David because even though he did those things, he could kill a giant. So you know, God's man or God's people, um, God protects them. I remember once I worked at this place. I might have told this before, but I worked at this place, and uh, Brother Willie Wooten worked with me. God bless his heart. I love him. And there was a supervisor that was giving me a hard time, and Brother Willie told this man, said, uh, "You know that Brother Dale's a minister, don't you?" Well, it didn't impress that man any. He said, "Yeah, I know." And so Brother Willie said, he could ask the Lord to do something good for you. And it was like a light bulb went off in that man's head. And he said, yeah, he could. And Brother Willie, I don't know how he is to you, but to me, he's got that timing because I've worked with him a pretty good while. And he's got that timing that he can tell you something and it'll register. And he waited just a minute or two and he told that guy, said, yeah, he could ask him to do something good or he could ask him to do something else to you. And I don't know what that man thought I might do to him, but he never bothered me anymore. I don't know if he thought I'd turn him into a bullfrog or whatever, but I'm telling you that God will fight our battles. And uh, the Bible said, when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. So let's go on and read this. It said, blessed is the man that walketh not into the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. I said blessed, ever how you want to say it. When I read something like that's got blessed in it, I pay attention. I want to know how to be blessed. I know in the Sermon on the Mount, he said, blessed are the peacemakers and all those things. And I paid attention because I want to be a blessed person. So, but when I read this that time at home, I was telling you about, I saw this man running. Uh, that was described in Hebrews 12, where he said, we run our race with patience. I'm not trying to outrun you, uh, and you're not trying to outrun me. We're just trying to make it across the finish line. So uh, the man was running, and then I saw him where he was running. There was people over on the sides, and they, like a race, and they were saying things to him and about him, and it caught his attention, and he slowed down from a run to a trot so that he could hear them a little bit better. So he went from running to trotting. Then in a little bit he couldn't hear them enough, so he started standing so he could hear what they were saying. Then when he couldn't hear all that he needed to, and finally he did, and it discouraged him, and he started sitting in the seat of the scornful. I've seen so many people like that in my time that they started off running, but then they got discouraged and they listened to the voices that was talking to them. But this says, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. I don't think that we have the time now. Jesus had a garden that he went to. You need a quiet place. He told us to enter into our closet. We need somewhere quiet. With the day that we're living in, you click on something, it takes you to 10 more things. And then you spend hours or an hour on that, and we don't get back to the Word, and we don't get to our prayer that we need to do. So he told us to meditate day and night. We need some quiet time. This is my office that I'm in, and this is a place I can come. I call it my laboratory where God can get a hold of my mind if he'd like to. And in his law doth he meditate both day, and he should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Boy, sign me up for that one. I want to be. I don't want the Midas touch in business where everything I touch turns into a profit. But I would like that whatever I do in the ways of the Lord, if it's lay hands on somebody or preach or just a pat on the back, I'd like for it to prosper. I'd like for that to prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. I talked the video before this one on the man at the beautiful gate, and I don't know if I'd said this on that video, but the way to survive a pandemic is to get off the me channel and think about other people. That will help you get off there. And I was thinking about me. I made several videos during this pandemic, this coronavirus, and it probably, some people probably don't, they may not like it, but Paul wrote letters. That was the day and time he lived in. He wrote letters. We don't write letters to churches. I've never wrote a letter to any of them, to Huntsville Holiness Church and care Brother Jack Kelly. No, I don't write letters. I can call him. And so it was a different mode. It was a different world than the way we stand today. We got cell phones. We can call each other. We can get information to each other pretty quickly. We got things that we're doing during the pandemic. Don't know if we're going to do them when the thing ends. Our church is on the Band app. We've had some Zoom meetings, video meetings, and after we get to go back to church, probably it won't be any need of it. But right now, it's working out real good, and I'm very thankful for it. Our church is very thankful for it. So if I can help you during this time or any time, I'd appreciate it if you call me. I had I don't know why this come to my mind, but I had a man that wanted a worldly man. He wanted me to help in his mother's funeral, and he was wanting a certain song that Brother Josh Ashley wrote called Heaven, and he wanted that played, and he wanted to know if anybody had a CD. So somebody had 2 CDs, and they gave them to him and said, maybe one don't work, the other one will. And I took him to him in Huntsville, about 23 miles away. Met him. No, excuse me, I did. I met him in Hazel Green, and in the parking lot, and I gave him the 2 CDs, and he couldn't say thank you enough. Thank you. I went out of the way to do all that, and I said, that's what I do. I think if you put out there that that's what you do, that's what you ought to do. If you hang your shingle out, and I'm trying to hush, but this just keeps coming to me. I was shaking hands at the back of Meridianville once. A bunch of times, but this was on the first Sunday, our regular meeting, and then the door came a man, not a young man, came a man, and he said, I think I'd like to be a preacher. I'm easygoing. You can ask anybody. I was easygoing before I received the Holy Ghost. I just wasn't doing it in the right way. But it kind of touched something in me. And I said, you think you might want to be a preacher? And he said, yeah. And I said, what part of it is it that you like? I said, do you like it that whenever you go somewhere, they probably recognize you? And he was grinning and nodding. I said, and maybe they may give you a little money before you leave that place on that visit. And he's nodding. I said, would you like to do the weddings and the baptisms? I said, but you don't want to do the funerals? I said, how you like it when people's calling you at midnight? People going to divorce, people thinking about not coming back to church or whatever. And I said, how you like that? And he wasn't grinning anymore. And I said, Bud, you get it all. You can't pick and choose the parts of the ministry that you want to do. If God calls you and sends you into the ministry, you've got it all. And you need to be able to talk to people and listen and them not feel like that it's going to be strode all over the country. I think that if you know something, you ought to tell people. If you don't know, that's what you ought to say is, I don't know. I worked for Swartz Industries selling parking lot sweepers years ago. I just keep thinking of things, but I'm going to try to cut it off after this. And I went to Detroit, Michigan, and sold a man a parking lot sweeper. I don't know why I would, I ought to knew better than to work there because I'm not mechanically minded. Anybody that knows me can tell you that I'm not mechanically minded. I can't fix your car. I can't build your house, but I can do something like this. So that's what I try to do. But anyway, the man bought the sweeper, and he was driving the sweeper, and he was driving me back to the motel in Detroit where I could get a taxi, where I could go to the airport and come back home. And as he drove along, and I rode with him, he said, how does this work on this sweeper? And I said, I don't know. And he said, we rode a little further, and he said, well, how does this work on this sweeper? And I said, I don't know, because I didn't know. And so we rode on a little further, and he said, how does the hydraulics? I remember that question. How does the hydraulics work on the sweeper? I said, I really don't know. And he said, you know what? He said, you're either the biggest con artist I've ever met, or you're the most honest person I've ever met. And I looked at him the way I'm looking into this camera. And I said, I am the real deal. If I know, I say I know. If I don't know, I say that I don't know. And I don't know. That's my suggestion to us, is if we know something, say we know. And if we don't know, don't try to fake it and act like you do, because it will just bring disaster for the other person and for you too. So anyway, I'd been home about 30 days, and the phone rung, and they said it was for me, and they said it was this gentleman. And I got on the phone. I was dreading it because I thought, well, his sweeper's tore up, and he's going to need a loaner or something, or either his broom head is tore up, and he wants another broom. So I got on there, and he talked about 20 minutes about nothing, really. And in a little bit, he said, I was waiting on him to get to the punchline, and he said, Dale, would you pray for me? And I said, yeah. And I'm kind of wiping my brow like, whoa, that was close, man. That's easy. I'll be glad to do that. This is a worldly man. So we talked about another 10 minutes. And he said, Dale, would you do me another favor? And I said, yes, I'll do all I can. And he said, would you pray for my wife? If I had shot this man a line as we was riding along, he wouldn't ask me to pray for nobody. So when somebody, if you're an elder or a minister or whatever, my policy is if they come to me and they ask me something that I don't know, that's what I say. Just tell them that you don't know. Ran a little long again today. So, but anyway, I love you, and I hope that see you soon. And if I can help you, let me know.